Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. We have a question today from Gene Russell of Greensboro, North Carolina. He says, Serge, I have arthritis in both of my wrists that result in an arm swing. I noticed in the video that your left wrist does not bend a little on the thumb side. Or he should say, does bend a little is what he says on the thumb side. If I hold my arm straight out with my thumb pointing upward, it will not point all the way up. I am not able to then bend my wrists at all upwards. I cannot do a push-up. Not that I would want to. If I put my palm flat on the floor, my wrist will not bend at 90 degrees for the push-up. I am 72, so I take the club back with a somewhat straight arm. The swing is shorter, and I swing with my arms. I cannot ring the bell. Any suggestions on how I can maximize my swing to get longer results? Okay, going back over this, Gene, I think a few points is I'm going to start talking about what the wrist is exactly supposed to do and what is exactly the peak performance golf swing and working and swinging in the way our body's designed to move. You said that when you hold your arm straight out with your thumb pointing upwards, it does not point all the way up. So in other words, I guess you're saying like your thumb is probably somewhere over here is what I'm assuming. It doesn't get straight up. I mean, it appears you must have the ability to rotate your arm. So I guess maybe what you're saying too is in this case, from this angle, you can't get your thumb quite straight up. It's probably somewhere over there in that regard. So it's one of those two things. And I think it's probably more this one as I read it again. He said you cannot do a push-up because you can't get your palms at 70 degrees at the 90 degrees. I don't think anybody really gets at 90. We could probably get close to it. I know for a while, every now and then, I have arthritis in my left thumb. I have no cartilage, and every now and then, when I try to do my push-ups, it starts hurting me. I have to go and do it with my fists instead, and put my fists on the ground. All right, and that really keeps the wrist firm. All right. Now you say you take the club back with a somewhat straight arm. The swing is shorter, and you swing with your arms. You cannot ring the bell. Well, if you're swinging with your arms, you're doing a peak performance golf swing. The peak performance golf swing is a limited turn. We turn only with the forward arm over the toe line, and then when we get there, we swing up the tree. So if I'm going to go from this angle, here's my toe line. All right, I'm going to just, once I reach the toe line, there's no more turn, and I swing straight up. Now the key is, what is the movement that we have with our wrists and our arms in swinging a golf club? Well, as Dr. Armstrong once told me, and I'm going to do it from this angle so you can see it better, we don't have a whole lot of vertical movement. In fact, as you can see here, my hand can't get any higher, and I think probably most people are like that. I got downward movement with the wrist, but I do once my thumb basically reaches my forearm here, that's it. I can't go up anymore. So we got very little vertical or up and down motion of the wrist. What we have is a lot more back and forth motion. All right. So when people talk about breaking their wrist, they're talking about coming up to the top of the swing, and if you try to set, or as many people have been taught in the past, to get up to the top and set the club, what happens? Your wrist cocks. You get that cupping in your wrist. We get most of the falling down comes from the wrist cupping. All right, and in many cases, that's why you hear a lot of times golfers say, "Well, I can't keep my fingers tight enough to keep the grip in my hand without my fingers opening up." And what do they tell you to do? They tell you squeeze tighter. So the tighter you try to squeeze, if you finally go and swing too long, it cups. Now, so we got very little up and down motion, a lot of lateral motion, back and forth. Okay? So that's the motion we have to be careful about. In the peak performance golf swing, I have said good wrist action is no wrist action. There is no wrist cocking, setting, hinging, or whatever in the golf swing. When I set up the ball and I get right here and I basically firm up my fingers, my hand, my forearm, I firm everything up to just below the elbow, to right here. I never let it reach the elbow, because if you get your elbow too straight, you eventually can be hyperextending and locking it, which means that A, it's arched up, it's hyperextended, basically locked. The arm is rotated forward which is now contradicting where it has to rotate towards the catcher's mitt to get up and swing it vertical up the tree. So we never want to get past activating the hands and the forearm to just below the elbow. Why? Because I do everything I can from the takeaway to the top, the impact, and to the finish to never let the muscle tone in both of my fingers hand, wrist, and forearms to never change throughout the swing. But what's changing is only the thing that I'm getting a little rotation in here. Notice how the back elbow is breaking. And so the thing I say is during a swing, we want to swing the club vertical, because why? Vertical, like swinging a rock on a string. Up and down, we have gravity helping us. It's giving us free energy, especially in a transition. When your club is straight up, your arms and club drop straight down, you're getting a free burst of energy, which means your club's already started accelerating, and all you do is just energize your arms and help swing it faster, right up to the tee finish. We don't swing to the ball, we swing to the tee finish. Sergite swing to the tee finish. So where and what is really happening? I say that in the swing, I call it that you must keep your forward arm relatively straight. This is not relatively straight. That's hyperextended lock. This is relatively straight. You can even have a little flexation in your arm. The key is that you can flex but not break. That's the key. Stand here and just put your arm down natural like that, and just activate your wrist like you were holding a golf club, or even do it with a club in a hand. All right, and come back up. Look at I can still see all my muscles activated. My forearm is bulging up. What little it bulges, but it's bulging up, and then you got to reach a point where it finally breaks. And where does it really usually break? Right about 90 degrees. All right? And so as long as you can keep that, you can allow flexation but not breaking. All right? And that's the key. So flexation is okay. So Gene, what I would say is if you're very likely too stiff, maybe even hyperextended, which means at this point you really can't lift anymore. But if you just allowed, if you softened it up, meaning in the fact that you only grip the pressure for the fingers to the forearm, to just below the forearm, right here, right in that meat and strength of your forearm, like as if you were going to stand here and backhand hit something. All right, that's what you want. You wouldn't backhand hit anything with a straight locked arm. So I think that's what I'm sensing. What you got into, you're too straight. Let a little hinging, a little flexation happen at the elbow, and should take you from here to right there. But the key is you don't want to stay straight and then do it, because then it'll be almost like a flip. You want to start with it where it's just natural, and it just has a little bit of flexation, and the flexation is coming because the weight of the club going up is stressing the muscles and working the muscle, and you can let it flex a little but not break. And I think that should do the job for you, okay? Well, that's it for the search for today on what is a good straight or left arm. It's relatively straight, and how much it can flex, and how do the wrists work. But the big key is allowing that little bit of flexation. It's not stiff-armed locked. It is firm to the forearm, and you can have that flexation, and that'll help you. But it will snap back relatively straight on the way down when that club starts accelerating, and you'll see you'll have much more club head speed, and you start hitting that ball much more solid, straight, and longer. All right, well, that's it for the search for today on how we use the left arm and our forward arm in the swing to maximize our vertical swing and power. That's it for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.